Good afternoon, everyone. A bit of a later time for us than usual. Welcome to probably a bit of a different AMA than some of the recent ones, but should be a pretty spicy episode, I think. Everyone doesn't know, my name is Marty. I'm the studio lead at Raini Studios, primarily focused at the moment on our flagship title, The Lords of Light. How are we doing today, everyone?
Awesome. Great to be here.
Yeah, fantastic.
So,
Thank you.
Draz, you actually got the webcam fired up for once, which is
Yes,
although
first time anybody's seen me, I suppose, except for you, maybe.
Yeah. Although that RT lol screenshot in the background's a bit out of date. Might need to update
Yeah,
that one. Yeah.
I'm a bit rushed this morning with my setup, but I'll get better.
Sounds good, man. And yeah, I guess Alex, just for anyone who somehow may have missed the news last week, maybe they blacked out through pandemonium and forgot like the whole week sort of from there. Yeah, if you want to just give the brief intro into who you
Sure.
are.
Absolutely. I'm Alex Moody. I am the new managing director of Rainy Studios. Our company, Seedon Network, we acquired Rainy Studios in partnership with Josh from the Camp High Pandas and his gaming arm, the Camp High Studios. So together we've acquired Rainy Studios, and we're super excited to be taking over the reins of a brilliant team. We've kept everybody from the team, so we're excited to have the brilliant team working with us now, and continuing the legacy of Lords of Light and other titles that are well underway, which I think people are going to be are just going to lose their minds when they get the details.
Yeah, it's been a pretty fun week or so since the acquisition all went through. Obviously, for a lot of the studio, just business as usual. We're just heads down, working towards the end of the year. Getting actually, there's a patch that will be going out relatively soon. A few little minor bug fixes, as well as potentially some holiday goodies that the players may want to check out over the holiday break. But yeah, no, it's been really fun so far, and yeah, as you mentioned, like obviously some pretty ridiculous stuff. I don't know if we're going to drop any alpha on this AMA, but yeah, some pretty cool things. Definitely in the cooking pot at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we have so one of the things, I mean, so we've talked about it publicly. I think we have access to I shouldn't even just say one. We have access to some of the largest combat related IP in the world. If anybody follows Camp High Pandas and Josh is a kind of a legend in the UFC world with his Overdogs podcast. It's grown to be one of the largest UFC or fight related podcasts on the planet. The Pandas are deeply involved in other combat related sports like karate combat, which is one of the things we did when we were in Vegas this week. We went to the Karate Combat 43, I believe, as VIP guests of that organization. So there's just involvement in a lot of that. And the irony is the next game that's coming is just going to blow people's minds. And you think you know what's coming, you don't know what's coming. So it's really cool. And I think that there's a lot of synergies with the existing Rainy ecosystem and universe. And so I can't give too many details away, but man, we are super excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, yeah, with this being the first AMA that you're joining us for, Draz, I'm sure you've got a lot of questions. I'm pretty sure my voice is going to get a bit of a rest this week too, because I've got a hunch that a lot of the questions aren't going to be for me for once. So
yeah, and I love so just as a heads up, I love live action AMAs. I'll answer any question. No topics are off limits. If I can't say something for NDA, I'll just won't say it. I tend not to prepare for AMAs for those that are listening that don't know me. I don't softball questions in advance. I don't edit questions or AMA outlooks. I just tell me what you want to hear, and if it's within my power to answer it legally, I will. And if I don't know the answer, I'll figure it out. So hit me with anything. You guys are more than welcome to. And that goes for the community too. I saw that you guys have been sending in some questions and things. So whatever you guys ever want to ask, just please do.
Sweet. Do you want to start running through questions now?
Mate, go for it. Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to just run through them as they came in. I throw through the chats from RA Verse initially. I was just asking this some game related stuff. Has obviously P2E has started, and is there a ranking in the background? And will the players be able to see their ranking during the season? Is there going to be some sort of functionality built in there?
Yep. So we're tracking all the games being played now for play and earn. We're tracking all of the collections on the back end for collect and earn. So that's all happening in the back end. The team will, it's on the list of things to do to get all that stuff visible. It will most likely not be done through the game client at this stage. It'll be done through the rtlol.com player profile page. So we'll link it all in there. And I think with both play and earn and collect and earn, the system the team is currently looking at, it'll update probably every 24 hours. So every day you'll be able to go in there and see like basically all your stats up to like midnight UTC the previous day, basically.
I can't hear Ray. Ray, are you muted?
Yes, I am. Sorry about that.
Brilliant.
Just one of the big ones that's coming through, I suppose, is just about securing new players and player retention. A lot of the matchmaking, some of the new people are complaining about, being matched up against some of the obviously OG players, but unavoidable with not having as many players. But can you sort of go into some of the plans maybe for how we're going to get new players?
Sure. Let me jump in there. This has come up actually even since in the Telegram channel since I've taken over, and I've had a good discourse with the community about it as well. And I've talked about, for one, there's been some questions about whether there should be a casual queue as well as the ranked queue and so forth. And I went into detail in the Telegram, so people can refer back to my comments on that. But player acquisition is critical for a variety of reasons. One, gameplay is more fun when there's more players. Queuing is faster. Matchmaking is much more efficient, and your rankings make a lot more. Will have a lot more of an impact. If there's only 2 players queuing, then it doesn't matter what your rankings are. You're going to get paired together, and that's not the way it's designed, and it's not the way it should be designed. So, and then obviously from a business standpoint, profitability is driven by DAU. So we're very motivated on a variety of different. For a variety of different reasons, not least of which is revenue, to gain more players. How are we going to do that? Well, one of the methods that we're going to use is we're going to use marketing in both Web3 specific marketing, which I think that you may have gotten or started to get a glimpse of in the last week. If you look at our announcement, have we quite hit 600,000 visual impressions on it yet? I think maybe getting anything in the hundreds of thousands of impressions is probably more than Raini is used to. So that gives you a brief glimpse at the scope of our network. So our ability to garner outreach, to get eyes on us, whether that's via marketing through KOLs or relationships and partnerships with investment communities or other Web3 enthusiasts, gaming communities, partners that use our infrastructure tools or that use Josh's, participate in Josh's ecosystem. All of that we can drive through the Web3 channels. Then there is the attraction of adding, the play and earn mechanisms within Raini are relatively new. They're also not well known or well understood. Even the first question relates back to that, where people say, well, how do I see them? How do I see my rankings? I don't know. When are they going to go out? What are they going to do? So if the team, if we can execute on delivering a quality play and earn mechanism and can communicate that properly to the broader ecosystem of potential players via marketing and awareness campaigns, then we will bring in more players. And the last one is traditional marketing in the traditional gaming industry to bring in players via the Epic channel. So those are the kind of the 3 verticals that are going to drive that. We had a meeting earlier tonight. It's when I say tonight, I know it's Australian daytime today, but I am in the US and it is 9:15 p.m. So we had a meeting just a few hours ago, Marty, myself, and a few of the seed and C-level team members. And we were talking exactly about this, about some initiatives that I'm already going to be putting in place within the framework of the existing play and earn mechanics that are going to encourage new players to come on board. And I'll even tell you about them if you want to drop alpha. I'm not going to tell you when it's going to happen because we haven't scoped it out. We haven't figured out when it's going to fit. There's some priorities that are going to take part above it. But one of the things that I've identified as an immediate benefit is if we provide a small executable airdrop that you can claim of the RST token when you complete the tutorial, and then another one at intervals throughout your experience transitioning into ranked play, then we can drag new players in via an immediate benefit that they can earn, that they don't need high rankings, they don't need large collections, they don't need, there's an easy barrier to entry to get players from point A of saying, okay, well, I could play 5 or 10 minutes and make this money or get this benefit. And then we can say, okay, here's the next carrot slightly up the road. And then that transitions them into competitive play, improving the matchmaking and so forth. And then the final one is to then, through that process, explain to those people or convert them onto the traditional play and mechanics that the team has already implemented. And if we can communicate that process effectively, our DAUs will go crazy, especially if we can drive user marketing in like third world countries and so forth. If you look at the Axia impact in Indonesia in the last cycle, if we can provide a carrot for large numbers of people who will be a very significant impact financially for, then we can expect huge player base increases very dramatically and very quickly. So that's just a quick bullet point of the kinds of things that we're already looking at implementing for Rainy. And we've only been at the helm for what, 8 days or something?
Yeah, exactly. And Christmas coming, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's good as well, though, that's like, and this is one of the great things, like Alex, when you and I were chatting even before like the acquisition had gone through and all that sort of stuff, was the fact that we've like the strategy that Raini Studios has had throughout 2023 is very aligned with the direction that Seedon and Campai Pandas, like, that we're going to keep going and keep driving down. I stood on a stage at GDC and literally said fuck MetaMask, and was talking about how you had to get Web 2 users over to Web 3, and it had to be just a seamless, easy process to do so. So yeah, super excited to keep working down this path. And yeah, really drive towards more mainstream adoption in the game.
100%, Marty. And what you said, I just want to echo that. The beauty of this acquisition for us has been that we don't have to come in and like clean house and change a bunch of shit, and migrate a bunch of stuff and redevelop a bunch of stuff. The beauty is the framework of what we would want is already here. And we step into a great team already on the right path, the right direction, that we can just say, okay, next is this, and take it to the next step rather than have to redo everything, because you guys have done an amazing job up to this point. So that definitely want to reiterate and echo that.
At the moment, we've got play to earn, collect and earn, and there's been obviously a lot of talk about rent to earn, and I think the rent to earn aspect is maybe something that's coming with the Seedon sort of contacts. Is that anything you can talk about, the rent to earn aspect of the cards?
I will tell you, Marty can talk more about whether there's a development path there. I can tell you that we have partners that have this functionality. In fact, we have partners that are launching this functionality on Avalanche right now, in partnership with Merit Circle. So we at Seedon have these relationships. We advise a company called Arcade to Earn, and their flagship product, the mission pools, are designed for exactly this functionality, whereby you projects and games, companies, leadership teams can create sort of quests, or they can create like asset pools around either an activity or a quest or something. In this case, let's say Rainy cards or what have you. Then there's contributors that participate. There's users, which they call operators, that can come in and utilize these. And then the pool shares in the value proposition there. So this is a low-hanging fruit for us. We can integrate this partnership very quickly into the Rainy ecosystem and bring a form of rent to earn to the player base in a reasonably short amount of time. This is this is the direction we're taking, because this is something that came up in the chats in the Telegram. Every time we spend $1 or a minute doing this is $1 or a minute not spent doing that. So while everybody wants everything and we want to give you everything, we also have to say, do you want mobile or do you want rent? Do you want game 2 or do you want rent? Do you want marketing or do you want, so every single thing is a decision of this or that today. So we have to prioritize those things. And I think we can provide a great synergy with a partner. And it might not be exactly what the community would envision or want, but I think once they see how great the product that's offered by Arcade to Earn is, they're going to see why we are partnered with them.
Sure. You mentioned mobile there. Is that how's that sort of tracking with things? I know obviously priorities have changed a little bit, obviously, or a fair bit with the introduction of potentially 2 fairly big IPs coming. Mobile still sort of on track early in the year.
Yeah.
Marty, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so basically, where everything stands at the moment, so the 2 things we're obviously working towards the end of the year was localization and mobile. Localization is basically done outside of like strenuous testing. So we made the decision earlier today, we're not going to drop that this side of the new year. That will be dropped probably the first week we're back in the new year. Mainly because we don't want to drop a patch, potentially have issues with it, and not have the team around to address those issues. There's still a few minor things that we need to do. The main one being support for symbol-based languages. So Japanese, Mandarin, stuff like that. Still needs a little bit of work, but all of your, not sure what the right phrase is, but languages that use the same symbols as English, so French, German, Spanish, stuff like that, are all in. They're all ready to go. I know we dropped some videos of those a while back. I might dig those out and I'll drop them in Telegram again. But yeah, expect that the first week we're back in 2024. Mobile's in a similar spot. So mobile, we've got iOS builds running on devices that we're testing at the moment. Android, we're having a few little issues just getting the build size down to where Google needs it to be. So for Android builds on Google, not to go too techno, but just I think it's interesting, but that's just me. Your base build has to be under 200 megabytes, and then you can have like an extension of that which has all your other game assets. So because when we load in the game the first time, we drop you straight into the tutorial, it's been trying to get this balancing act of getting everything we need under 200 meg, so you don't have to download the game and then have to just sit there and look at like a loading screen while it's downloading assets in the background. So we want to actually get you into the tutorial and then have it be downloading everything else you need while you start to play the game. And we're down to like 240 meg. We're trying to find that last 40 meg at the moment, but we'll get there. That's relatively easy. Once we're there, we can start testing on Android as well. So yeah, I would say, and this is the same as what we spoke about earlier, Alex, probably by end of January would be a sort of rough estimate for when we'd expect to have them in players' hands.
And just to like, our priorities haven't changed. Ray, you mentioned like priorities around with the other games and so forth.
Yep.
The thing is that the game that we're working on concurrent to Lords of Light, it's being worked on right now, then it requires mobile. So it is not a this is delaying that. We have to get mobile done and shipped and ready to go before we can really make the progress we want to make on game 2, because the market it's going into is heavily mobile focused. So it's a little carrot, or a little breadcrumb. Whether that gets you where you need to go or not, I don't know. But
Probably
so
not.
mobile is 100% a top priority for both Lords of Light and follow-up IP.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Just a question, I suppose, from Beluti was just asking that some of the collections Raini has a whole bunch of collections of cards, all different sorts, and they're all over the shop. He's asking, it could be a bit of a red flag for newbies. Is it possible to review those links and get them all on the one page, or on a raini.io page, or rtlol.com, so that they're all in one place, so people can trade and buy from one place?
We're chatting with Beam or Merit Circle at the moment to get the Raini collections verified and listed on Sphere, which is their new marketplace they're building. They'll have our Ethereum, our Avalanche, and our Beam collections all in one place. As I understand it, that will also enable cross-chain trading. So, for example, like Ray, I can send you my Ethereum Stacey Rainey for your Avalanche Chad Rainey, for example. She'll be able to actually facilitate that, which is really cool. All within the one like cohesive ecosystem. BNB obviously being the one that at this stage Sphere doesn't support. With the collections being unverified on OpenSea, we've chatted with their support previously. Maybe it might be worth hitting them up again now. Now that we're under the Seedon and Campai Pandas umbrella. But the feedback that we got back then was that they won't verify collections until there's been a certain volume traded.
It's the same. It's the same. It's flat. It's a smart contract based requirement. It's 75 ETH of total volume in before you can get a verification check. So that's not going to be overridden by it at all. But I think that the movement towards like Beam's marketplace really makes sense from a cross compatibility standpoint and from a verification standpoint. They're much more willing to basically work with us on understanding, the collection and verifying it and protecting kind of like knowing that it's the real stuff.
And obviously, Joe Pegs have been great for us. We've worked with them a lot in the past, and they've obviously verified our Avalanche and our BNB collections are verified on there. So if you are trading on BNB or Avalanche, definitely look at Joe Pegs. Once we have Sphere set up, if you are looking to trade on ETH, Avalanche, or Beam, that would definitely be where I'd be suggesting that people look. But obviously, we'll keep all the collections like maintained and up to date on OpenSea. We're aware they are the biggest marketplace for a reason. So we don't want to like remove anything from there for obvious reasons. But having the support of other marketplaces again ties back to that core philosophy of true player-owned assets, where again, in the same way that we support multiple chains because it's up to you to choose where you want to store your digital assets. By supporting multiple marketplaces, it's up to you where you choose to trade, buy, sell, etc.
Sure. We have a ticketing system now, don't we, Alcatraz?
We do.
That's on. Could you just explain that a little bit for everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the past, if you had issues either on Telegram or Discord, quite often you'd end up like DMing myself or one of the other like admins or moderators and stuff like that. We want to basically streamline that process and make it much easier if you do need support for anything to be able to get in touch with the team and make sure we can track it to make sure we do answer your questions and get everything sorted. So on Discord now, you'll see there's a new channel called Support Tickets. If you go in there, there's a little button you just press that lets you create a ticket. And once you do that, you can just write whatever it is you're after in there, and that will basically be shared with our moderators and the Raini Studios team. So it's just a much simpler way if you're having any issues around or either gameplay or Web3 related stuff. Just pop a ticket in there, and the team keeps an eye on those, and can make sure we look after you.
Okay. What a couple of people asked the same sort of thing. What is the plan to cover multiple time zones for the game? Before, we're pretty well Aussie based, so if, it's maybe only been one occasion where the game's gone down and it's taken it because everyone's asleep. We all that's getting covered now, I suppose, with having people all over the place.
Yeah, I can jump in there. So it's the irony of Seedon is I'm obviously the CEO of Seedon, and I'm US based, but more than half of our team is actually Australia based as well, totally coincidentally. But we do have people all over the globe. So there's East Coast US, West Coast US, Central Europe, Indonesia, several in East and West Coast Australia. So we have team spread out all over, and we have moderation team as well for our own channels, and they're not currently up to speed on Raini Studios, but they will get there. And at some point we'll start integrating those team members and expanding those sort of that coverage. It won't happen right away, so don't expect that like in the next couple of weeks. But over time there will be more. I'm reasonably active in the Telegram, not really in the Discord, but I can be available as well. So there will be some coverage, and that coverage will expand as the needs of the game and the community expand.
Sure. And once we sort of get to that stage as well, like basically what will probably end up happening is like, whoever is available, around the clock, whether it be mods, admins, stuff like that, will have ways to get in touch with team members, even if we are asleep. everyone has mobile phones these days, as Blizzard pointed out a few years back at BlizzCon. So yeah, like theoretically we get to that stage where we need to have access to team members and support 24/7. Then yeah, the mods and admins, if something did happen, like hey, the game's down, like then yeah, someone will have my number to wake me up and reboot the servers or do what we need to do basically.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And we also have, I mean, I'll point this out too. Raini Studios is not the only game studio that Seedon has acquired this in 2023. We currently have 3 different game studios under our wing that we own, that we manage, that we're the managing interest in, and 1 minority interest. So we do have dev teams in different time zones. So there are other game dev teams that have experience. If we need to take some of our development assets and give them sort of what would be the word, contingency access to for those emergency situations, so that Marty doesn't have to get woken up at 2 a.m, that we could just bump that over to a like one of our devs in the Ukraine, or our dev in India, or like our dev in the US, like we could just bump it to somebody who's in the appropriate time zone, who can hit a restarts on a server or something like that. Create some redundancy protocols within the organization, and then spread those out and have the appropriate people communicating those things. That'll all get done, but again, don't expect that next week. That's probably over the next 3 to 6 months type stuff, as we grow the studio, as we grow the DAUs, as the game grows, and the game's catalog grows, then all of those protocols will be put in place.
Obviously, Raini Studios has access to a lot more resources now. Is the dev team going to get bigger with regard to this?
It will 100% get bigger. It's almost unavoidable. So today I told Marty about another game today. So game number 3 would be Raini Studios game number 3. That we just greenlighted and is currently going into essentially preliminary design. So when I say we move quick, and when we have the right team members and the right assets in place, then we're going to focus on that. We have other game studios. We're highly committed to those. But there's some interesting opportunities that come about when you have partnerships, and those partnerships bring things to the table that might not otherwise present themselves. So yeah, things come up. And so we can't possibly meet the needs that we have with Lords of Light, with game 2, which is that entertainment combat IP we've talked about, and with game 3 that I'm not even going to hint at. But those 3 things are going to take more than we have the ability to deliver on in the short term. So there'll be a slow kind of scale as we move through those processes. Now, no, we don't race through everything all at once. You got to deliver well and when you do something. But yes, I see that the team expanding. 2024, there'll be a slow growth of the team. And then once we hit sort of commercial, what's the word that I want to use? When we hit commercial escape velocity which will come, quite frankly, to be honest with the team, it won't come initially with Lords of Light. Lords of Light is a very heavy Web3 game with both lore and with integration, and that has obstacles, that has glass ceilings attached to it. But the game 2 has a very strong IP that has targeted audiences that can be grown extraordinarily rapidly. So from a corporate standpoint, escape velocity from a commercial standpoint happens when we get 7-figure, 8-figure download or install base, with like hundreds of thousands of DAUs. That's where we want to be, and then we take those and we migrate them over to the high fantasy IP in Lords of Light. So that's kind of like the strategy. But when you hit that point where you need extensive customer support, you need extensive, like we've just talked about, contingency protocols, things that are happening around the clock. There's a lot more that goes into it than when you're building a game and you're entering in a very, very small ecosystem like we are in Web3 gaming.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Seedon Network's not just about games, though, is it? It's about content delivery on the internet in general, isn't it? Are you able to sort of just give just a general rundown of Seed and how maybe nodes and things like that sort of hang together for the company?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we were created from the games industry for the games industry, but that's not all we can do. It's a vertical that makes sense for what we do. Mike Haller, our co-founder, which a lot of people got to meet for the first time, probably in the broadcast we did on the announce day. Mike's a legend. You know, I met him a couple years back. We were consulting for a company together, and you know, he was consulting as a traditional games guy. I was consulting as a blockchain or entrepreneur, and we just kind of hit it off, and we understood that there was this need for the democratization of the way that content is created and content is delivered. So Seedon as a company is focused around these two spheres, or these two ecosystems: content creation and content delivery, and understanding that they basically do this. They're kind of like a Venn diagram where they overlap. And so particularly with interactive entertainment, the centralization of it has gotten horrible over the last 2 decades, to the point where if an indie studio comes about and they make a game that's a breakthrough hit, they get bought instantly. They are bought out with an offer they can't refuse is made, and the studio ceases to exist. So the ability to move forward new types of games, new IPs, to take risks, to create new game mechanics, even, it is so stymied and so stifled in the last decade that you end up with everyone's excited about Grand Theft Auto 6. Everyone's excited about Call of Duty 29. Everyone's excited about, you know, what new game has come out? What new mechanic have people celebrated? Because as soon as somebody does it, takes the risk, then it's in every game that comes out for the next 5 years. Yeah, Lords of Light. But that so we see that problem. So ultimately, the Eden content creation ecosystem is about creating tools and strategies that are designed to make creating games easier, to make creating games more accessible, less expensive, and that happens through engine technology. It happens through accessibility tools. It happens through marketing tools. It happens through like just development tools and modding capabilities, and making engines that are accessible to modders, so that you don't need so much. You don't need so many different, like, it's crazy when you make a game. I don't know if anybody really understands this, but to make one scene in a game, you need like 6 people that do all different stuff to make the engine work, when really the engine does it itself. And you should be able to just do it yourself. You should be able to sit down, watch a YouTube video, and make like a rudimentary game. And it's so complicated and so expensive. And then if you do it wrong, there's just endless amounts of problems that cost even more to undo than the actual design work itself. So the entire process has created this, like, where Atari was created by, you know, a couple guys in a garage. That's not possible anymore in video games. And so Seedon is about getting back to those roots of empowering and incentivizing the independent creator to make content. And then what happens? You look at the perfect example of, not just a couple last week. Epic Games sent out that legendary, you know, email that's like, shut down Gods Unchained for like an adult content, whatever, because the way we deliver content is centralized. So at a moment's notice, we've all built our tower in someone else's garden. We've all built. So as soon as you say or do something that they don't like, whoever they is, then it's gone. You're done. That's it. Your game is over. Your studio's over. You can be blacklisted in a blink of an eye. So we want to decentralize and democratize the way content's delivered as well. And that's peer-to-peer node, an NFT node network that Seedon has created, that essentially when we reach the true technological edge of network, you know, like AI driven content delivery or distribution that we're looking for, which is edge node caching. That's gamers serving gamers. So if you think about it, right now I'm sitting in New Hampshire. I'm about I don't know, 800 miles from AWS East. Okay, so that's pretty good, right? If I'm playing games, I'm in pretty good shape. especially if I'm playing on a like a universal server against people in like Switzerland or something, right? I'm going to crush them because my frame rate's going to be way better. Or unfortunately, what they're going to do is they're going to split the servers. There's going to be a European server. It's going to be a US server. And we're never going to, so that's not the real metaverse. We're never going to get to the metaverse doing that. Or one of us is going to be at a disadvantage. But what would happen if we cached locally? We use the edge, the true edge of the network. Right now, the edge of the network is AWS East, which is being served by the central brain of the network, which is wherever the studio or content deliverer is, the publisher or whomever, Epic, Steam, wherever. The edge of the network is sitting at AWS East for me. Or maybe it's AUS or somewhere for you guys, or India or Mumbai or wherever. What we're proposing or what we're creating with Seedon Network is that those node operators are sitting, maybe there's somebody sitting 4 streets away from me. That could be the edge of the network, with AWS being the brain delivering it out. Or it could be the worst case fallback scenario. So gamers can then serve gamers, can be rewarded for doing so, can be paid to be the content delivery network for each other. And they're already doing it. I mean, if you look at the types of like self-hosted Minecraft servers, or self-hosted, like, you know, I used to play DayZ on like private servers. People like host them themselves. So why are we allowing all of the content that we consume to be centralized in these like essentially like locations that are really far away from where they should be, which create this fracturing of a player base or of a content community? So that's really the grand kind of vision of Seed Network is finding ways to democratize and decentralize content creation and content delivery, so that we can have reach that true utopia of like gamers serving gamers.
Yeah, and that's done through the node network, the Keystone nodes, which are available on Seedon.network. There's maybe 3,600 of those gone now. So out of 10,000, so there's still a lot left, but they will, once people catch on, they'll start going pretty quickly, because that's pretty cheap for a node. All the generation of the CDN, which is coming, only comes into being via the running of a node, either a Keystone or a production node. So there's a lot of early opportunity for people, I suppose, to get in on the Seedon nodes.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity to get it to participate in Seedon's ecosystem is still available at mint price. You know, that I think that's the exciting thing that people, I was just like in awe today thinking about that, of all we've accomplished this year. And you know, the community, the Raini community or the pandas or whoever can still like walk in the door and participate without having to pay a premium, which is really cool. And yeah, we're very confident that the open beta is coming for the Seed node network, is coming like imminently. Honestly, we delayed it launching in Q4 because we were acquiring Raini, and so we were focused on that. And we had like endless amounts of big news, so we were like, all right, just pump the brakes. We'll put it out in like January or something. So probably second or third week in January, that's happening. And we announced not that long ago that we're going to do a $250,000 incentive or giveaway or contest giveaway for people who participate. So if you run nodes in the beta, you're running real nodes on testnet. So you're getting you're earning fake tokens. So instead of it, you know, you like, hey, come test for us. But this is our model, right? If you participate, if you engage, if you do work in our ecosystem, you get paid, you get rewarded. That's the whole point. If you run a node and you deliver content and you participate, you get paid. That's the point. So we're going to do the same thing with testing. If you come in and test for our open beta, you are going to get rewarded. We're going to allocate 10% of the mint funds, or up to 10% of the mint funds, which is it could be more than $250,000. Or if nodes don't mint out, if the Keystone nodes don't mint out, all the rewards for those unminted nodes are going to go into a pool and be distributed to the node operators who are testing. So it's going to be $250,000 or more that are earned by those node holders during testing. So it's going to be like a really fun, really exciting thing for the entire ecosystem. And Raini's going to be involved there. We haven't quite leak that out, but there's going to be a lot of collaborations and a lot of integrations between all of our portfolio companies.
And just another thing, I suppose, with Seedon, you guys have mint passes as well, which obviously for anybody who doesn't know anything about them, you get the opportunity to participate in upcoming projects that come on the network. So a mint pass might get you an airdrop, or it might get you access to a whitelist, or it might get you a free mint, possibly in say the upcoming Rocket Monsters.
Yeah, you do. And actually, speaking of the Rocket Monsters, so yeah, mint passes, they're going to earn a free mint from the Rocket Monsters NFT launch, which will be Q1 2024. They'll get the airdrop from both the Rocket Monster they mint and from holding that, and from holding the mint pass. So they'll get two.
Nice.
But I want to talk about Raini. So Raini Studios community, actually, if you saw on Saturday on the Rocket Monsters page, we launched the first partner community for the Rocket Monsters open beta, which is coming in Q1 2024, and that was a panda, right? And there was in-game footage of the panda running around. It's a pretty cool video. I hope everybody saw it. If not, go check it out. But there's also going to be a Rainicorn that's a playable character in the game open beta, and what that is, that will be token gated, so only Raini community members will be able to play that avatar. While you're playing that avatar in the open beta of Rocket Monsters, you'll be earning bonus rewards towards that Rocket Monsters airdrop. And so yeah, something that's exclusive for the partner communities that we have. That's not just our portfolio companies, but Raini is one of those participating. So yeah, if you're a Raini NFT holder, I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it with a token. We're going to try to do it where if you're holding RST in your wallet or the NFTs, but it's the system's really designed around NFTs rather than tokens. So we're just trying to figure that out. But Raini holders will benefit from this opportunity to collaborate across the different seed and ecosystem companies. So it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, nice. That sounds fantastic. I like the look of the. Was that were you within the game there on that the video? That's within the game.
The whole thing is gameplay footage. So there's no cinematics at all in that. But the only difference is when it's panning around the panda. Yeah, that's still gameplay footage. It's just been recorded from the in-engine, moving the in-engine camera around in a way that's non-gameplay, if that makes sense. If you guys understand in-engine versus like live action, that is not a cinematic. That is actually footage that was recorded just by moving around within the level in-engine. The actual cutscenes of gameplay are actual combat footage. So that's live gameplay. Yeah,
no, that's great. It's like a fun game, definitely.
Yeah, it is. It's a blast. We have a closed beta going on right now with select, participants. That was a mint pass. One of the mint pass benefits was they got to participate in the closed beta and earning a special airdrop for themselves while doing that. We've had some events in the closed beta where like 10, 20, 30 people show up, and it's complete and absolute mayhem. The game is really, really fun it's fast paced. It's like crazy. It's a multi-level game. So Rocket Monsters is very, there's like a propulsion mechanism with the rocket dash ability. And so you can fly, you can move up, battle in the midair, and it's a lot of fun. So I think the community will enjoy being able to go, okay, we're playing this TCG. It's like super engaging and super fun, and then we want to go blow each other's faces off in a first person shooter and earn some rewards that way. So, and the thing is, I think that's one of the beauties of being part of the ecosystem of Seedon is that as we go out and attract player bases and DAUs, people that like TCGs don't necessarily like first person shooters or third person shooters. They might like them, but they might not ever find each other. And so when we market in one vertical, and attract DAUs, we're going to cross market to them in many creative ways and say, hey, don't you want to go over here and earn this benefit because you're these people? Like, we have this ability to essentially like welcome or walk people from one door over to the other, and then from the other door back over to the other, to cross-pollinate the communities in really significant ways. And I think that adds just a huge value benefit for everybody in the ecosystem.
For sure. Is Rocket Monsters a mobile game?
No, it never will be.
It's too big.
It's a really resource heavy Unreal engine. When we acquired the company, it was built almost entirely in blueprints. So we've basically had about 4 or 5 months of dev on it, where we're moving a lot of it out of blueprints and starting some custom dev work. It's got a long way to go. I mean, we're calling it a beta. It should be called an alpha, but the previous iteration that was released on Elixir Launcher when we acquired it was an alpha. So I feel weird going like, we're launching the alpha 2.
Yeah.
So we just called it a beta and said, but it's really like an alpha state MVP. And so we still have a lot of like customizations of UI to do. It's very like vanilla on a lot of the stuff. There's tons of VFX work that needs to happen. There's a lot of like gameplay systems that still need to be put in, like group chat, guild, that type of stuff. It's just like, you guys have watched Raini Studios building over the past couple of years. It's the same thing, right? You want everything. And you have to figure out, what does the player base need, even if it's not what they want. And then you have to figure out, like, okay, what does the budget support today? What does our time support today? And then you just attack those things. And then, you know what? You look at a game like Overwatch. I like using this as an example because it's one of the most flashy, like VFX action first-person shooters that's on the market. And you look at like a game like Overwatch, and it's not what it like when you play today. If you could play it the first day it came out, it was like this stripped down, it was like Rocket Monsters. It's like there wasn't much to it. It was just fun. And then they added like some glowy shit on the gun. And then they added like the gun goes, like that stuff wasn't there on day one. Just like when you see, Raini Studios launching like a Lords of Light thing, the on-play animations, they're what they are today. You imagine what they're going to be in 2 years with polish and time and everything else. This is a complete game that you can be excited about, that you can play, you can have fun, but the like polish and the like poise of the game as it expands and grows over time, that's this business is things look better with more time. So it's just like, it's a process. You want it to happen all at once, but you just accept that it doesn't.
And the beauty, I suppose, of regardless of all these other things that you're into, it all can feed back into, say, Raini Studios, for example, like all these other people that are coming on board for Rocket Monsters or come on board for the Game 2 and Game 3. Everyone within the ecosystem can benefit from everything else, can't they?
Exactly. And we'll just do creative. You just creatively market. People want to know, like, what, for instance, like, it's really easy with something like Raini Studios, right? We can just give someone like a free something or other, right? Same thing on Rocket Monsters. Like if you are a Raini Studios card holder, you are entitled to this free gun that nobody else gets. That's like whatever, and you're like, oh, I got to go claim that. There's so many easy ways within like the digital economy, like a tokenized economy or a digital economy, particularly with digital collectibles and NFTs, to be able to cross-pollinate ecosystems really, really easily, and give people like a meaningful reward for participating in more than one vertical within an ecosystem, right? Like you're Raini, you're diehard Raini, you love it. Well, guess what? If you hit 100 kills in Rocket Monsters, you get a special Raini card. Like you care about Raini, you don't even care about Rock, but you're like, do I go grind the card? And now you're a Rocket Monsters fan. You hate trading card games, but if you finish the tutorial, you get 20 free med packs. Yeah, like your gameplay is going to be better. So go spend the 5 minutes to make. We can do stuff like this. There's a million things we can do. And so it's just about figuring out the synergies. It's about spending the money on marketing in really, really like intelligent ways, and getting DAUs wherever we can get them, like the most efficient and effective way to get DAUs into the ecosystem, and then figuring out what makes those people tick. And then how do we get them to do more with us? How do we get them to participate more and engage more with us? And everybody will win.
Sweet. What have we got here? Victor, just in the chat there, Victor W is asking, how long have you been involved in crypto, Alex? Are you a BTC OG?
No. Well, depends on who you ask. No, I would say no personally. I got in mid 2017. via Bitcoin. I was introduced to Bitcoin by somebody who was a Bitcoin OG, was like running early, like Dash node runner, like ran up like tons of Dash nodes when they were in the millions. He introduced me and was really excited about it. Got completely, like, did really well for like 2 months, and then got completely obliterated, and then just lost money for like 3 straight years, but loved every minute of it. Met one of our other seed and founders, Julian Jordan. I met him like late 2017 or so, mid to late 2017, almost right away, in like a Telegram group, alpha group. I don't know if alpha is the right word, because we just lost for like a couple of years before we won. But then we, think one thing led to another, and we've created some really cool things, I think.
Definitely. I suppose in that same chat, they're asking, are the nodes from Seedon similar to what Gala uses nodes for? How do we get a Seedon node? But we've sort of discussed that, I suppose, a little bit, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not super familiar with how Gala system works. So I can't really answer the question.
It is. I actually have Gala nodes myself. It is very similar. Basically, Gala, if you have a Gala node, you run software, and that software drives the interactions of the network, basically. So it is a very similar sort of a decentralized type of system.
Mm-hmm. There's 100 ways to skin a cat, as they say, right? There's a lot of people tackling similar product market fits and solutions. There's a place for everybody, I think, or everybody building something legitimate. I think one of the differentiators for Seedon, and I would go so far as to say a very significant differentiator for Seedon, is in 2017, I got involved in a lot of venture stuff, a lot of early stage investing. And back then, there was no Uniswap. We had Ether Delta, right? But the project still had to like launch before it could be listed on Ether Delta. So 80% of the time you'd invest in something and it like would never launch. One of the things that I learned back then when I was investing in all these incredible ideas, all these great technologies, was that if they launch, they're going to launch and then no one uses them. And so one of the things that was core tenet of Seedon from day one is that we cannot create good tech that nobody ever uses. And that's why we went on an acquisition spree. You say, why did you guys buy Raini? That doesn't make any sense. Why do you need a TCG? We don't need a TCG. We like it. I love games. I love the fact that like I can participate in the creation of a bunch of games is amazing. But the purpose of the acquisitions is because we need DAUs, we need people, we need proof of concept on the network. We need activity using our infrastructure tools to prove that they work, to prove that our tech makes sense. Because ultimately, those of us who are in the ecosystem now participate. We prove the model for the Microsofts of the world. We prove the model for the Riot Games of the world. That Riot Games is never going to go use Seedon Network, no matter how good the pitch is, no matter how great the stats look on a spreadsheet, no matter how good it doesn't matter what we do, they are never going to come on board. But if we have 10 million gamers playing on our system, we have gamers creating their nodes and building node systems and distributing content. And there's a huge ecosystem of people that have adopted this because we essentially forced that adoption. Then the pitch makes sense to them. That's how we break the mold. We can't break the mold, but you can't just go out and business development acquire a bunch of users for your network. It just doesn't work that way. You have to prove it. It's the same reason why Halo was created by Microsoft. The Xbox had no place in the industry. No one was ever going to buy an Xbox. They weren't. They just weren't going to sell any. They created Halo, what we would call a loss leader, because ultimately they had to have a reason for the gamer to adopt the hardware. And that's the same concept. Why does Epic have Fortnite? There's examples over and over again. It's why Netflix focuses so much on the creation of content rather than just the distribution of content, right? Think about we're a Netflix. We're creating a Netflix model. They create the content that they distribute because it's effective, because it proves the model, and the users come for the content you create, the curated content, aka Lords of Light, Rocket Monsters, et cetera, et cetera. They come for that content and then they stay for the other content. That's the essential business model.
I think you said in a tweet just recently that there were two ways to grow, and one was to grow it organically, like was it the not
Pudgy
pandas,
Penguins, IP growth.
Pudgy Penguins,
Yep.
or acquire licensing and go from there. And you're taking the acquire licensing route, which is a faster version, obviously, of doing that.
Huge respect. Listen, huge respect for people that build IP. It is a grind. Okay, I mean, creating lore, spreading that lore, keeping it consistent. All of that, and then marketing that. The problem that I think this is a big problem in Web3. Ultimately, Web3 gaming has a huge albatross, right? Everything seems overfunded. There's tons of VC money. People can sell tokens. They can sell NFTs. They can do all this stuff to get money. But the problem so everyone goes, oh, the games are really overfunded. The problem people don't understand is when you're creating a unique proprietary IP, you need either some really, really, really incredible guerrilla marketing techniques, aka Pudgy Penguins, right? Or you need 20, 30, 40, $50 million. You can't become a Pokemon without $50 million or $100 million in marketing. It just doesn't happen. So while people are overfunded for the creation of a game, they're way underfunded for the distribution of a game, right? The traditional gaming industry is nothing like Web3. In the traditional gaming industry, you create an MVP with an IP, you take it to a publisher, right? So you spend $1 million or $2 million, you make a game that nobody's ever meant to play. The game is just a demo. You take it to a publisher, and then the publisher says, we love it, we're going to bring it to market. And then they give you $20 million or $150 million to finish making the game and marketing the game. Game studios in the traditional marketing, in the traditional business, don't actually do their own marketing. Publishers do. But in Web3, we don't have publishers. So the studios are required to both dev and market their IPs, which is essentially impossible or very close to impossible. The only thing we have going for us is the hype around speculator. And they don't make very good gamers. They don't make very sticky gamers. So it's a real disconnect that Web3 has in transitioning from, okay, there's funding for the games, but then how do you grow the IPs when you don't have that marketing budget? It's a huge problem. But that's why I said licensing and acquisition is a much faster route to mass adoption.
And you guys, I think, obviously, we've always had, because it hasn't been our sort of core focus, I suppose, with the Raini Studios. Marketing hasn't been where we come from, but you guys at Seed and Icebags, obviously, are all over the marketing aspect of things.
Yeah, I mean the one of the nice things is my business partners, particularly like our affiliation with Game Maker, Mike Heller's studio, and the people over there. Our advisory board. If you look at who's on our advisory board at Seedon, Mike himself. These are like, we have publishers on our advisory board, traditional publishers. One of the services that Seedon offers. So we're not just like, we have these two verticals, right? But we also have we look at 4 or 5 different pillars of revenue generation. One of them is advisory services. So we advise companies. We're paid to do that. We do it now actively. One of them is agency services. So studios come to us with publishing, and we help them get published through traditional channels. We take a cut for that. So we offer a variety of services, both directed to the Web3 community, but also to the Web2 community. The third one is Web3 as a service type things. So bringing, I think that's a big vertical in the next 3-4 years is traditional game studios and publishers going, okay, how do we get involved with NFTs? How do we introduce tokenized economies? Most of them are not going to want to do it themselves because of legal reasons, liability reasons, just simply like the volume of development integration issues that arise. That's Web3 as a service is a perfect vertical for Seed and long term for us to be able to add revenue to our balance sheet. But having those sort of like expertises of being integrated with publishers through the traditional channels allow us to take like a Raini and say, okay, Raini got it done themselves. That's rare. They're on Epic. They have a distribution channel, but they're still self-published, which means you don't have that marketing. like oomph behind you, right? The next game that we deploy through Rainy is likely to be done through a publisher, which means that publisher is pushing it. Think about this. Think about the difference between Rainy installing in Epic Games and then having to convince people that they're there and to go try it, versus like when was it Samsung who installed Flappy Birds on every single mobile screen when they like launched the Samsung XYZ phone or whatever. Think about the difference between those two. Like it's already pre-installed on your phone as the one game you could play.
Yeah.
Who has the leg up? Right? That's the difference between working with a publisher and self-publishing.
Impressive. Yeah, the potential is mind-blowing, really. I said that he was dropping some. What do you say specifically? That he was going to drop some
games. He blew it. He's just throwing it all out there.
Have 2 insane combat sport IPs dropping for Rainy Coin in 24 hours. I'm assuming.
Yeah,
it's going to be a fun year.
So we may or may not. Yeah, we may or may not have signed a second incredible combat IP. In that, now let's not get ahead of ourselves. We did authorize today some cash to begin design speccing for that third game. But it is not in the development like game 2, right? That there are developers actively working on that game. There are designers. Marty can attest this. Marty has spent time in meetings with people working on this game. The game 3 is not at that stage. It is at the handshake deals are done. We have a concept. It's a pretty well thought out concept, and we're going to start putting pen to paper. Or I don't know what's the word, digital ink to I don't know, digital canvas or something, and creating some concepting designs.
Right, and all 3 of those obviously under the Rainy Studios banner.
They are
those 3 games. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yep,
very exciting.
Yeah.
Just question for you, Marty. I think they're just asking about just things like RST burn statistics. I mean, we know what they are sort of at the moment. Someone, Jay, but not that Jay, put it up. It's there have been 210,000 RST burnt so far, which means 210,000 into the migration pool as well, which means that a total of 841,000 has been spent just already through the shop, the RST storefront. But I suppose people, and this will come, I imagine, but they're just looking for some interfaces, I suppose, on the websites that just help to see those things a lot easier without having.
Yeah, for sure. It's again, it's on the list.
$1 for
Yep. Obviously, the great thing with working in blockchain is that data is publicly available. There's nothing stopping a community member from building a website to show that stuff if that's what the community wants. But yeah, we'll try to get that up on probably on Rainy.io for those particular sort of statistics. But yeah, obviously, as Alex mentioned, it all just sort of comes down to where the priorities are. At the moment, on the Web3 side of things, the priorities are definitely getting the systems built out to support play and earn, collect and earn. Like that's the higher priority focus at this point in time.
For sure, high return.
100%. And to Marty's point there, it's like getting those things, and this is for the player's benefit too. Knowing how many tokens is burned, it's fun. It's a fun mechanic. But it doesn't actually like impact you positively in a meaningful way. Whereas more players playing the game because they're attracted to like rewards, you knowing what your rewards are going to be, and that you're like 3 people below the tier where if you like got one more win, you could get like more rewards. Those are higher priority items. You know, if you really like break down those development ideas into like what's in it for me, they start to make a lot more sense. And trust that I think Marty and the team have a really good handle on what's in it for you and want to deliver that. Like they're not actively like going through their day going, all right, what can we work on that absolutely no one will benefit from? Because that's what we want to do today. They really do like spend time thinking of what's going to make this game better for you. And that's what they're working on. So as much as we want to put all those like extra, like quality of living, improvements, we also have to prioritize things that matter, that matter more. Sorry, they don't. Sure. It does matter to us, and it matters to you, but matter more.
Yeah, 100%. Like you say, the ones that will attract the new users and keep the new users and
Exactly.
all that sort of thing we need to do
Like
first, obviously.
point blank, like critical infrastructure, number 1, new users, number 2, retention, number 3. Those are the 3 priorities, right? Like it needs to work and it needs to work well. We need users and we need the users to stay. Those are the 3 priorities. If it doesn't fall into one of those 3 categories, it's probably not on the absolute top of the list of things that are going to get like money and time spent on them in the near term until these 3 things are really in hand.
Okay, no, that sounds fine. The Rainiverse Battle Pass, Marty, is that on hold for the moment?
Yeah, again, it's just a matter of dev resources around that to get that implemented in the game. So we do have formation packs. If you look at the actual distribution of formations, I'm pretty sure it's in the medium. There are packs of formations that were held aside specifically for the RST Battle Pass, or the Rainiverse Battle Pass, I should say. So yeah, once you have that up and running, then yeah, you better go in there. That pass will only be unlockable by RST. So that will be done through like the RST marketplace. As we've said before, it will be very limited in terms of how many of those passes will be available. Unlike the current like basic and like premium tiers of the battle pass, where as we scale and get more players, we obviously want as many of them as possible to be engaged with that battle pass as possible. The RST one, because we are giving out on-chain or collectible items, we do have to restrict how many of those go out. Now, having said that, the way we've built the system isn't to just support like RT-lol packs or RT-lol cards. We've built them in a way that we technically can support any ERC 721 or 1155 or even just any like token that we wanted to actually do. So again, theoretically, in the same way that we're talking about doing integrations across, say, other games under the Seedon ecosystem, potentially there's other ways that we can, as a Raini community, can be involved in those other games and other things that we may or may not do at some point in the future. So nice. Yeah, it's definitely it's on the list. We're working towards it. Matter of priorities, but yeah. When we do get that up and running, that will be a very cool way of incentivizing and rewarding our most highly engaged players.
I had a meeting, it would be 2 hours ago now, so it was an hour before this AMA started, with a very well-known person in Web3, and the conversation was exactly about that. It was integrating other tokens into our games. And people go, well, why? You have your own tokens. Why would you do that? Well, why not? I mean, if it makes sense and there's a use case reason for that, then why wouldn't you? Like if you can merge communities, everybody benefits. And then people want rewards, then you just integrate rewards. So what Marty's talking about is the ability to integrate other types of rewards and other types of claimable benefits through battle passes or whatever at different functions or different like functions in the game. You could have a tournament or you could have a gameplay event where, like special rewards are happening during that period of time or what have you. So having those integrations that the team has done is really critical. So that's what kind of like that other 721 or other ERC20 or what have you is really cool to have that available in the battle passes. And we have those relationships to bring those rewards to the table.
Nice. People have just been asking for a general roadmap, I suppose, into 2024, but I mean, you pretty well explained all that sort of thing as we go. Game 2's under development, being worked on. Game 3's very early stages, maybe coming. Lots of work to do, but you got rocket monsters and all different sorts of things. Anything else you talked about for 2024 coming in?
Well, I mean, I want to start by saying that Lords of Light remains the number one game for the studio, and it has a very robust 2024 ahead of it. So that I think that like when people are like, well, what's 2024 going to look like? It's going to look like Lords of Light and then more. And none of the like priority items from Lords of Light are going away or being supplemented or anything like that. So we can expect Marty. I think we probably we talked about before we even acquire, we were talking about like roadmap. It's like two like significant expansions in 2024, two smaller ones. Yeah. Is kind of like the goal of would be like a comfortable growth on the game. This is like more investment in like the core infrastructure. So one of the nice things about completing a game in things like, when I say completing a game, things like mobile and localization, those things take huge amounts of dev resources. You know, you want to do this stuff and you want it to be like a couple weeks, but it's not. It's months. It's months, and it's a lot of people doing months. Once this stuff gets out of the way, it frees up the team to be working on some like other things that have either not been, you know, like that like I was talking about that Overwatch, like the gun getting cooler, you know, that starts to be like an option. Do we want to add different on play animations? Do we want to like add different VFXs? Johnny has done an incredible job with the visuals. The game is beautiful.
Yeah.
We can always do more. You know, we can introduce more stuff. We can like really grow what Lords of Light looks like in 2024 because we have an incredible team already. That team has finished all these critical infrastructure priorities that suck up a ton of time. And now we can start working on game 2 and game 3 and the frosting on the cake, the decorative stuff on that just makes the Lords of Light that like, you know, that like just another touch better, you know, or whatever, like all that excellent stuff that games can do as they mature.
Indeed. I'm just going through the questions here, guys. Just people talking about any plans for the actual lore for RT LOL. At the moment, what we seem to have are random cards and not much connection between them. So
that's a good question. That is a good question. And it's a good point. And Marty, you can attest to this. It was something I brought up probably almost immediately in conversations. I think that, like, again, beautiful game. Lords of Light's a beautiful game. I like the overarching lore concept. I think there's a potential there. I don't think a coherent storyline and lore underpins it in a like meaningful way. And I think that over time, and I know Marty and the team have been working on this, Formations was a move in that direction. I think a move towards a more cohesive high fantasy IP is going to serve the Lords of Light really well in the years to come, because this isn't a game that was designed to, you know, to be Lords of Light for 2 years and then like Lords of Light 2 and then like, you know, just where we just like forget that one and like let's put out a new one. This game is going to be supported for as long as, you know, we can. Like it's meant to be the one game, right? And so we have to have a lore and a storyline that makes sense over a period of time, and that new users who come from some specific niche that's not crypto Twitter come in and go, oh, this is neat, I get it. Which I don't know that I think that of all the things that have been done right with the Lords of Light, this is one where maybe we missed the mark up to this point. So from my standpoint, I'd like to see us over the next year or 2 years of expansions to really be thinking about the story, you know, and I'm going to shout out our creative director at Seedon Network, Steve People. If you ask Steve, what do you do? And he goes, I tell stories. That's his job with Seedon. It's it. Yeah, he does design work. He does graphic design work. He makes wireframes. He does a lot of that stuff too. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of technical shit. But really what drives him and what makes him special is he creates stories, and he figures out how to tell that story. And that's what one of the things that's going to be our priority over the next couple of years for the Lords of Light is to figure out what is the story that we're telling, and then how do the players understand that story, and then how do the cards reflect that. So in the animations and everything else. And granted, we're not going to go back and be like, okay, Elon's got to go and Zuckerberg zombies got to go, and like they don't make sense. No, you get to keep your digital assets. Don't worry. We're not going to like just wipe you out here. But we want to make sure that a new player coming in and interacting with the ecosystem is going to feel more like they're playing, you know, like a Hearthstone, that they understand the ecosystem rather than it appealing directly to like a crypto Twitter audience.
Yeah. Excellent. That question was from Devil 1236. It's your Joe just asked, will any of the old packs that are floating around be available to buy on the RT LOL store with RST?
It's a good question. We can look at doing that. We will need to change a few little things about how that works in the back end. There were changes we did to the pack contract specifically for formations to enable it to be supported on Beam. Probably that would be work that we would look at potentially doing next year in conjunction with setting up layer 0 bridges for cards and packs to make it much easier for people to move their assets between all of our supported chains. If once we've got that functionality built in, it becomes much easier to enable other packs to be sold through the RST storefront.
Sweet.
Actually, I know. I was just.
Sorry, you go, mate.
I was gonna say. The question from Andy on YouTube chat. So I know we touched a lot on like the Seedon ecosystem, but specifically asking, will there be a Seedon token?
There is. Yep. So CDN is the native token of the Seedon ecosystem, and there is. So just to be clear on the way that this token has been designed, it is a purely mined token. There's no team tokens. There's no VC tokens sold. There's no marketing pools. There's no pre-mine of any kind. So 10% of the token is earned via an airdrop mechanism to the Seedon Keystone NFT nodes over a 4-year period. So that bootstraps the network. That's why they're the keystones. They're the corner of the ecosystem. 90% is earned through production rewards. So it's earned through mined rewards, block rewards. And that's earned by in a pro rata relationship of active keystone nodes and production nodes. Production nodes are minted only in one way. You can't buy them or trade them. They're minted through the node portal. For 500 CDN, you mint a production node, and then when you're done with it, you claim it. You get redeem the node
CDN
back, and you get your CDN back. So that the production nodes are a secondary tier, but they are the highest earners within the ecosystem. So Keystone is the founder to get the bulk of the network rewards. It does get a bit complex, but I will tell you that Julian Jordan, the architect, our head of product, the architect of the node portal, has created a beautiful and really easy to use node portal. So if you have no idea what a node is or how they run, or what do I, I don't know anything about like networking or like setting up, you don't need to. You click a button, it does it for you. So it's very, very easy to do.
And Node is basically a piece of software. So I saw reading through some of the Seedon information that we could potentially run our nodes through Seedon.
Yes. So initially you'll have to. So in phase one, in the phase one, the open beta, we're actually not running anything. It's literally just testing all the integrations, right? And there's no real connections. And then in phase one, when we activate the actual network, that phase one operation will be all centralized with running it through Seedon, or we'll be placing the nodes, the nodes for you, or the servers for you. And then in phase two and onwards, you would have the option of either continuing through us, through third-party node operators, or doing it yourself and placing those yourself. The reason why we're doing it that way is the rollout is very geographic specific. So for instance, there's a game 2 that's coming out for one of our portfolio companies. I won't name any names, but it is very geographically specific, and you'll understand what I mean when I say that. So when we roll out the network, we want to roll out the network in a very, very concentrated area to support that, so that we can do proof of concept in a geographic region. Otherwise, you have no, if you have 8,000 nodes covering the entire world, you don't there's not very good a service. So you want to make sure that when you're proving a geographical concept, that you actually get saturation in that, in partnership with local telcos or what have you. So it's a whole bunch of nonsense that goes into it, but that's the general gist.
Nice. Just down the bottom there, BW has asked, will all future games be tied to the RST token? At least the 3, I
Not
suppose, coming out.
necessarily. So let me put it this way: we're not going to launch another token for another game within the Rainy Studios ecosystem. But that doesn't necessarily mean that every game that the studio launches is integrated with blockchain functionality initially, right? So there's two kind of camps. There's a group of people who are diehard, like we have to prove that this stuff works, and we'll die on this hill, and die on the hill that they may very well do. And then there's a group of people that says, okay, we can Trojan horse this technology. And if you look at the way Merit Circle and Beam are creating technology, and why we're so impressed with what they're doing, account abstraction, a bunch of other feature sets that allow for essentially integration of blockchain technology that users don't even know exists and don't have to interact with if they don't choose to. That's how we'd like to take this. So when we go mass market with game 2, we will not have RST integrated in that game initially. What we will seek to do is to grow a user base of 7 or 8 figures. And then we will work in partnership with that publisher to integrate those features as we get the opportunity to, so that we can, but the priority here is to gain DAUs into the ecosystem that we can fill into Lords of Light and the RST ecosystem. And then when the market for this catches up. Now, if you walk into any boardroom in gaming right now and you say token or NFT, you get walked right back out. That is universal. And when I say that, I say that very meaningful. Now, it's not like to say that those companies aren't considering these things, that they don't have these things on their radar. We saw Epic's response where they basically said, we understand this happened, and we support these ratings and so forth, and we're going to continue to work with. Companies are warming up, but they're not warming up fast. And what the worst part is, the player bases are the reason why. The companies are ready, but the player bases have decided that we hate NFTs and we hate tokens, and if you do it in your game, you're out. So we need to attract players, and then we need to show them and educate them why this benefits them. This makes their gameplay experience better, not worse. Because unfortunately, we had a crop that the generation 1 of Web3 gaming was largely not a benefit to the gamers. They got dumped on. They were exit liquidity. They were chum for poorly made games for the most part, unfun gaming experiences, where they were dumped on by venture capitalists, and that's an unfortunate reality. And what that did was, on the backs of 2019, 2020, 2021, we soured an entire generation of gamers to the idea of tokenized economies and NFTs. And until we can reverse that damage with good quality games that are built around fun, that are built around logical tokenized ecosystems, and digital collectibles, we aren't going to make that progress. And so we have to gather those users in a logical way and introduce them to our ecosystem and kind of grow it that way organically.
But even for people who think, oh, okay, well, that second game's missing out on the RST, but I mean, it's all the same studio. The exposure to the Lords of Light and to RST in general. I mean, to have a blockchain company creating a title like that is possibly published on just standard type consoles and things, or wherever it goes, is just a fantastic opportunity. I would imagine there's many that are doing that.
And we can, and to say we don't integrate RST at all, we're going to look to integrate RST. If you look now, right, when you go to Epic Games, where's RST? It's not there, right? You actually can't use RST on Epic Games. So the publisher of the actual launcher, the publisher of the game, there's no integration at all. So the Lords of Light is really well positioned already in this regard, right? RST is integrated very subtly into the ecosystem. It's a benefit. It's a value add. Do you want to use RST? It's better for you if you do. You don't want to? Don't. You don't have to do it. This is what we're going to continue. This is where we're going to champion that same concept of kind of really soft application with all the future games. And in the case of the second game, when we launched that publisher relationship or that direct to consumer relationship, there is opportunities to integrate RST into that game. And when there are, we will. And it will be RST. It will not be, token 2 or token 3. There won't be any more tokens within the Raini Studios ecosystem. Like that. That's just not. We're not churning out a bunch of bullshit. We're committed to RST. So if you want kind of get that right, like that Lords of Light really doesn't have RST integration.
Yeah.
From the public's perspective, we're going to continue that model so that you get involved in the game, you don't even know it's there, and then throughout the course of your life cycle playing the game, you're like, wow, I could get 30% more, or whatever it is, 30% less payment for the equivalent amount of Lux or whatever. Why wouldn't I do that? All I have to do is this extra 1 click or this extra 2 clicks. To get 30% off. Now you're in the ecosystem. Now you've migrated. You've just been onboarded into Web3.
But like it is, to get exposure to Raini Studios, RST is the way, really, I suppose, from a Web3 perspective. So it's going to benefit regardless of what the studio is doing. These games are going to drive it.
Ray, this is the way I look at it, right? The probability of getting a breakout hit that hits 8-figure install base, which this is the crazy thing, right? When I first met Mike Haller, we were talking about the Game Maker. Seedon's invested in Game Maker's next title, which is it's codename Slasher, but it's think like if you were gonna like beat the shit out of Friday the 13th, this is the game that you'd make. So it's really cool, right? It's really, really cool. They're pushing the envelope with new mechanics at Game Maker with this title. Anyway, getting sidetracked. When we were first talking, right, he goes, oh, he's showing me a spreadsheet of like the projections, the financials. Like it's just a spreadsheet of numbers, like high case, mid case, low case, right? And then like project failure. Yeah. Project failure is 500,000. That's install base. If you have 500,000 or less, it's considered a complete and total failure of a project. Wow. So we're saying 500,000 install base. That's 500,000 people bought your game and played it.
Wow. You
failed in traditional gaming. What would you do? What would happen if a Web3 game had 500,000 players?
Be massive.
Be massive. It'd be the unicorn, right? Like So when we're talking about right, Marty knows. Marty's done he's been in the real world, if we call it that. So when we're like building a business model for Raini Studios, we're saying, okay, we're going after an 8-figure install base because that's where the mid case is. Believe it or not, that's the mid case. So we want a mid case title with 8-figure install base. And then we want to go and convince 3% of them to come over and play Lords of Light. What do those numbers look like?
Big.
Do you see that? This is the game, right? This is the game we're playing. We're not going to go try to, we don't know. We don't have the money to go market Lords of Light and get 10 million people to play it. But we do have the ability to take a new title with a really, really powerful IP that already has 500 million people following the stars of this IP. We can get, a small percentage of those following to play the game or to try the game in partnership with this group that I'm trying to like watch my words here.
Shall remain nameless.
Partnership with, we're talking like live event, QR code on the banner, get your free blah, blah, blah. QR code, scan it right at these live events.
Yeah.
That type of a relationship. We onboard 8-figure people and then we say, hey, have you met my friend Chad Rainey? That's literally what we do. Then we just start saying, hey, remember what I was talking about before about cross-pollinating Rocket Monsters players with Rainy players? How hard is it to say, hey, did you collect your free $10 worth of RST, all you have to do is click this button. Did you scan this QR code and get your free 5 packs of, worth $100? Everyone's going to click that. Like, I mean, why wouldn't you click that? You click it, we onboard, convert 2-3% of those people. And all of a sudden the install base of Raini's what's 2% of 10 million? It's more than we have now. That's what it is.
That's more. Yeah.
That's the business model we're putting in place.
Yeah, fantastic. Sounds fantastic. Really, success. Very big year, 2024 coming. I suppose, and as well with, Ice Bags, Josh McLean is a guy who has taken Campai Pandas and done some amazing stuff with that. He's just driven that project hard.
We haven't even talked about him. We haven't even mentioned him. It's an hour and a half of bullish shit, and we haven't even talked about the guy. He's an absolute legend. First of all, I don't know, people don't know, but he's an extraordinarily successful businessman, completely outside of Web3. Like, him coming into Web3 was like probably a bad idea. It's like, you remember when Trump ran for president and like his net worth went down? That's like Josh is like super successful without this, doesn't need this at all. Came into Web3 and basically stepped into the Campai Pandas because it had failed. He acquired it, right? And then just with his out of his own pocket, carried the thing for months to make it a legitimate thing. Locked down a studio at Allegiant Stadium for like every event. So I mean, I went to the Red Hot Chili Peppers in the luxury suite in Allegiant Stadium in April with my wife because I'm a panda. Like, it's insane what he did. And then he goes and spins off this incredible combat entertainment like lifestyle brand, this incredible apparel brand. Then they spin off Campai Media. Now Overdogs it's like one of the largest MMA podcasts. We became the unofficial. So Pandemonium this weekend, it was right after UFC, whatever, I don't know the numbers, 243 or some shit. The UFC fight in Vegas.
Yeah.
Right afterwards, we have ours, and then people are coming up to us at our pre-Pandemonium UFC watch party and going, "Are you the Overdogs guy? This is the Overdogs UFC party?" And then people were coming back to the Pandemonium afterwards as the official UFC after party that they like thought it was, just because it's Josh.
Yeah.
Like, his connections are unreal. His marketing capabilities are unreal. From a business development and a marketing standpoint and like a business strategy standpoint, there's nobody that does it better than Josh. Like, just there isn't. So the fact that like you get us, Seedon, right? And then you get Josh. I said to my partners, actually, it's like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the close of the deal. I said, guys, 80%, whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. So
I know you mentioned, I was on that call. Yeah. Like, just the value that Josh brings.
80% of Raini Studios is worth less to us than 40% of Raini Studios with Josh owning the other half. Like, owning all of Raini Studios is worth less than owning half if Josh owns the other half. Like, I don't know if I'm conveying that.
No, that
properly.
makes sense. Yeah. Yep.
It's like 2 and 2 equals 7. Do you know what I mean? Like, the math doesn't make sense, but it just is. Because he's a force multiplier. With my capabilities in organizational skills, with Mike's capabilities in gaming and his connections in gaming, and then Bags' connections in marketing and business development, and then on top of it, I mean, just simple things like preparing for the announcement, having 6 or 7 C-level executives across 3 brands working together. We've got David Nam from the Pandas marketing guy. He's like pitching in. Ced's artistically pitching in. Like, I've got my team all jumping in on stuff. Marty and his team are like getting involved. And you've got like all these people like nonstop working literally around the clock because everybody's on different time zones. So it creates this like I don't know if you've ever worked in a high energy environment. If you work alone, things get really, really slow. They get really, you do your best to keep up, but it's you against the world. You get into these environments where everybody is engaged at this high level, and it becomes a force multiplier. You operate at a higher level. You do more. There more comes out of you than you think you're capable of, because you're with people that simply just perform at a high level. And that's what it's like partnered with Josh. I mean, we just are that way. And now we have all these great people. We've got Marty running the studio, which frees us up to do the big picture, to go crush it, to go sign deals days after we sign the other deal, and just keep rolling. So yeah, we didn't spend any time talking about Josh, but don't underestimate the impact that Camp High Studios is going to have in the gaming space over the next, couple of years.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the interesting things that he's been doing, particularly, I suppose, is integrating real world with crypto. The benefits, taking your crypto memberships and whatever you're doing into the real world, and vice versa, coming back the other way. That's massive for the future, I think.
Nobody does it better in Web3. I mean, you go to you can go to a Art Basel, or you can go to NFT New York or whatever, and you go to the parties, and they're cool. Don't get me wrong. Like Pudgy always throws a great party. Luca's a freaking legend. Absolutely nobody in the industry does IP and physical goods better than Luca Nets. There's just nobody doing it better. He's a fucking legend. But when it comes to in real life experiences, there is nobody that does it like Josh. I mean, absolutely. If you have not been to a Pandas event, you don't understand what an event is yet. There's just, he has gotten this ability to create this curated experience with the Camp High Pandas that is unparalleled. I met Josh because I was a Camp High Panda. I bought heavily into the Pandas because of Josh. When he took over, it was like, no brainer. I'm going deep in this. I own probably the most iconic one of one in the Pandas, which is for sale, by the way. Small plug. If anyone buys it, I'm going to sweep the shit out of the Pandas. So that's just feel free.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of everything that Josh has done. And I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I feel like we really connect well. We work together well, and we're going to do some insane shit for Raini. Like, you guys have no idea what the hell is coming.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good thing. All right. I mean, that's pretty well it, guys. I can see from question-wise, just general questions, you've covered a lot. And I just think the future for this studio, and for now with you guys running it, and the dev team, and Josh and Mike Haller, head of gaming, is just unlimited. Really mind-blowing what's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
And thanks very much for coming in and taking Raini Studios under the banner and doing big things with it.
Yeah, we're super excited. I got to tip my hat to Marty. He's done a great job at the helm, and we are super thrilled that he's still there, and going to roll with us, because we're going to have some fun. That's what I'm telling you right now. We're going to have some fun. And Ray, I appreciate this. I like this forum. I enjoyed watching them before we took over. I got I caught up on a lot of things Rainy with your AMAs. So I'm psyched about it. Glad to have you here too.
No, sweet. And just mention to anybody else who's watching, the mediums for both Rainy and Seedon have got some great information in them. You'll find a lot about the nodes. You'll find obviously a lot about Rainy when you look at that one, but on the Seedon side of things, you'll see a lot about everything. A lot of the things, there's an FAQ there about everything. So just go and have a look at those mediums if you're new, and you'll learn a lot.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I guess for all the new people that are joining us, I'll just throw this link up on screen quickly. If you haven't tried the game out yet, bit.ly/play RTLOL, or you can find us on the Epic Game Store. Yeah,
We're ready.
there's not a better time to get into the game. Formations dropped recently, so the meta's a bit all up in the air at the moment. No one really knows which direction it's going to go. There's still some really strong decks that we had during design and development that the community hasn't discovered yet. Obviously, by jumping in, just finish the tutorial, we'll give you 2 theme decks, which gets you up and running in the game straight away. We have tournaments running every single week with our friends at Blue Mint, as well as a bigger monthly event that just happened last weekend as well. So yeah, definitely a fun game to get into and give it a crack.
Sweet.
Cool. Have
Thank you,
a great day, everyone. Have a restful, enjoyable holiday period, depending on where you are around the world. And yeah, we'll catch you all back here for a pretty fucking massive 2024.
Let's
Merry
go.
Christmas.
Happy holidays,
Hey.
everybody.
LFG, let's go. All right,
See
catch
you
you all.
guys. Bye-bye.